transition going from ICMA to Nationwide. Does anyone have any questions on Morningstar or how it will work? There was a section number 5 which I felt hit it right on. It was dead on. It says Morningstar Investment Management will monitor the investment options contained in the select list. If a fund is put on the watch list, you will be notified via the quarterly reports. If Morningstar Investment Management decides a fund should be removed from the select list, you will be notified if your planned investments menu is impacted. Morningstar Investment Management will provide a recommended replacement fund. The removed fund will be replaced with a recommended replacement fund within a specified period of time unless you choose another option for the select list. So this will affect our employees. Everyone will be up to date. Morningstar will give us recommendations. They'll give us a report, and you'll be notified via mail if your fund is impacted. If you have 50% of your assets in this fund, they're going to send you a notice and say, we've now moved that 50% into this other fund, and this is the reason why. So it'll be more informative, and it'll keep everyone. There'll be more monitoring on our fund.
I read they're going to do it unless you specifically tell them not to,
Correct.
Which is a good thing.
Correct. So once again, it does mitigate some of the risk on the district side as far as why we're making changes or the monitoring. Now we have a full-time monitoring feature in place for our retirement plan. So that's our main, I'd say one of the main objectives when we went out to the market as far as this transition. The second exhibit is the actual new plan documents for Nationwide. So I want to give you guys a chance to look at those. And I've highlighted some of the sections that have some of the major changes from our current plan. So the first one that we discussed possibly changing was the employee participation. On the first exhibit on page 4, I've highlighted the conditions of eligibility. So one thing that we've included in this new plan is on the 401A plan, an employee will become eligible after the first 60 days of hire. So this will line up to when they're also eligible for health insurance and all our other benefits. So as soon as we sit them down for all those, we'll have the same conversation, get them signed up. It'll all be an easy transition during that new hire orientation
process.
Now
it's immediate.
Right now it's immediate. They have to choose within the first 60 days or else they can't get in the plan at all. So it'll go from
till when? The following year or
currently?
Yeah.
Currently it's you're out.
You're done.
You cannot get in the 401A plan at all.
That's why we want to.
But the new way's going to be...
The new way you can get in anytime after the first 60 days, you're eligible to join the plan.
Yeah. No matter what month.
Correct. You have to meet that condition of eligibility
to
then be eligible. So once you've worked with the district for 60 days, you're eligible and you can join the plan.
Okay.
So
and at any time during your employment, you can join.
Correct.
Don't have to wait a certain month.
Correct. That's something I probably will discuss. We may implement some sort of biannual maybe process, just
or maybe during
open enrollment every year, every annual when you're signing up for your benefits. If you want to now, last year you chose not to get in, this year you do. We'll sit you down. We'll go through that conversation.
Okay.
But we'll do that on a case by case.
Well, we don't currently have that.
Correct.
If when you were hired, you had
to choose within the first 60 days, or else you couldn't get in.
Okay.
So that'll be a different change. So I want to make sure we discuss that and we're all on board with.
I think your open enrollment is the time to do it because you don't want to be fooling with this every day of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that could be a hassle. Huh?
Yeah. And we do get employees who, every so often will find an interest and come in and either decide to get in or don't. So I think having set dates either every 6 months or every open enrollment tells them exactly, hey, this is when you need to focus on, this is what you have an opportunity to enroll again, look at it. At least they're more intentional on, hey, this is the time to look at this and make a decision.
Well, it gets the onus off you too.
Yeah. So that was a major change. As far as employee participation, we decided based on the committee and our discussions that we weren't going to implement a mandatory participation. It's still going to be voluntary. The employee will choose whether they want to participate or not. An incentive that we did put in place to try and help was the double match on the first percent. So if you put in 1%, we're going to match 2, and then every percent thereafter we're going to match 1 going forward. And that's on page 10, so we've highlighted the tiers of the matching percentage. So it indicates the first 1% contributed, there's going to be a 2% matching. On the next 2, there's only 3. On the next 3, there's a 4. And it's so on, so until up to 5%. So an employee could put it into 5%, and we're going to match 6% on our behalf. So they're going to get an extra percent from the district on that.
Is that other highlighted thing still? That's what we currently have, correct?
Correct. So that's
that's going to stay.
Correct. On page 6, looks like I missed that. That's the vesting schedule.
Okay.
We decided to keep that as is, so I did want to mention that. There's no change on that. 50% in the first year, and then fully vested after 2 years of employment with the district.
That's the way it is now, though.
Correct. Going.
That's pretty lucrative.
Yeah, it is very. I've seen it before. It looks like the plan originally had a 25% tier.
20.
Oh, was it 20?
20. So it was
So
over
5
5
years?
years.
Yeah. So this is very lucrative to know that in 2 years you're fully vested and
Yeah, well,
that money's yours, yeah.
exactly.
So-
The district's match is
Right.
fully yours. That's really, usually it takes 3 to 5 in most of the ones I've seen.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying that's a pretty good benefit.
Yeah, I think that was
For
something
the
we
employees.
discussed because I think we were on the fence about, as management, as district staff, we want to promote long term and we want to keep our employees as long as possible. And we felt that was one way we could address it, but at the same time, we decided keep it the same and hopefully they see the benefits they're getting.
You
and-
really don't want to do things to give the employee a negative perception.
No,
I
especially
wouldn't
now.
want to take something away from them that they got.
Right. So going back to the matching, I did want to show you guys the fiscal impact of what the match change would be. So that was Exhibit C. So I've shown you what our current budget is currently on our wages. And it goes down to the $63,000. That's what's contributed from the district as matching for the employees. I showed in the middle in the blue section is what the FRS currently offers and what that impact would be to the district. So we would be going from a $63,000 budget to $143,000 if we went towards the FRS section because FRS is now contributing 8.26% for their employees. What we're proposing is a 6% match. So going up from the 5 to a 6 for our employees, which is a $10,000 increase on the district's behalf. The reason why we got to that $10,000 number is the page right behind it, which is page 2. We recently got rid of a benefit that we felt wasn't being utilized as much, and we felt like we could give this benefit back to the employees in a better fashion, and this is how we're going to do it. So with this MetLife change, we ended up going from MetLife to Florida Blue and removing short-term disability coverage on our employees, and it saved the district $12,000. So with that $12,000, we're going to be giving it back to our employees through the matching contribution. Okay? So we've talked about participation, mandatory versus voluntary, contributions. One thing on the FRS side, I know a lot of government entities, one of the major benefits as to why employees go work for the counties or cities with FRS, and they do almost like a cost of living adjustment every year. So that's why it's at 8.26. Last year it was 3% lower. So every year they're constantly adjusting that for cost of living. Maybe in the next meeting or next year with the retirement plan committee, maybe that's an annual process that we'll do going forward is see if a cost of living adjustment is necessary, what the impact will be, and we'll go through those conversations going forward on an annual basis to see if the district wants to make that change.
Make sure I understand, we're eliminating the short-term disability because basically our things changed and we don't really need it anymore. Am I correct?
Correct. So the two determinants that we decided why the short term we felt wasn't a great benefit for our employees anymore was our sick time policy. So we increased our max accrual from 400 hours to 960 hours of max accrual now. So that is 24 weeks that you could possibly accumulate if you let that time build up. So we felt like that amount of sick time allowance covers any short-term disability outcome, and you're getting paid at a full 100% versus a 60% short-term disability policy that you would never really utilize if you had the sick time available. Our policy also states that if you run out of sick time and you're in a situation, another employee can now compensate or transfer their sick time to another employee to help offset that time. So between those two benefits, we felt like that covers the short term, and then this money we could give back to the employees through the retirement plan in a better fashion.
So over the 8 years, I know of one person under short-term disability, maybe two.
We had one who actually used the short term, and then we had a recent employee who opted not to use it because he had the sick time allowance
Okay, so
and
that
decided
gives you
he needed the
so-
100% pay. So we felt like that was
Okay. I just want to be sure I understood.
the vesting schedule. We did discuss on page 6 that we kept the same, and then the last item that we on page 15, we are permitting loans on this plan. We currently do allow loans on the current plan. So the current plan allows for 5 loans up to a 50% of your balance threshold. So you can take 5 loans at a time. Well, we've implemented this, or proposing to implement this on this new plan, is 1 loan up to the 50% that's refinanceable. So an example would be, let's say you have a $40,000 balance in your account and you want to take a $10,000 loan. You can do that. And let's say after a year you need another $3,000. You can go ahead and refinance that to $13,000 to keep 1 loan, and it's still under that 50% threshold. So instead of having 2 ACH drafts going back to Nationwide for those 2 loans, you're only going to have 1 ACH draft, always continually doing that. So
Cleaner.
it's cleaner. It should be easier for the employees to track versus having 3 or 4 loans at a time, and at least it keeps them under that 50% threshold, which is the same. So we think that'll be
How are they going to handle the loans you already got from the other place?
So I believe at the last meeting, David said that they were going to transfer those and keep the current rates and terms that ICMA currently has in effect.
So they would. So if you have 3 loans, they would combine it all as one.
Well, no, those 3 loans are going to continue 3 loans.
Oh, they would continue.
And then with
exactly the same.
Nationwide, if you start a new loan, it's only going to be 1 loan, and they're still going to take that balance and figure out your 50% balance to see what you're eligible for on the new loan with the ICMA. So until we clear up those ICMAs, it's going to be a little bit of a
But
change.
nothing will change.
Nothing will change on any outstanding.
So I got the thing in here saying in November of this year mine's paid off. It's not going to go higher than what they're taking out right now.
Correct.
Okay. I was talking to somebody and they said, what about loan being paid off from the balance transfer?
Paying it off early?
Well, the proceeds that they're going to move over to this new company, they can't pay off the loan and just deduct it from what's getting transferred? Because he thought that's what they did a few years back.
That would give them some tax consequences that I'm not sure they really want to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay,
don't-
so definitely not that.
You start withdrawing from it,
That's right.
then it's immediately
That's right.
ordinary income, so you got to pay tax on it.
And penalties because
Exactly.
for early withdrawal. So
Yeah, so that would be. I would think that would be classified as an early withdrawal, and it would be.
Right.
Okay,
Probably don't want to do
I don't
that.
think you'd want to do that.
okay.
You always have, I guess, that option to do that,
Yeah,
but it
but
isn't
you would
smart.
want to have Nationwide put the numbers together for you to see. What
But right now, it's going to be just the way you explained. Everything's staying the same from ICMRA to this company.
Correct.
Okay.
So one thing we want to propose too is before we take this to the Board of Supervisors for final approval, we're probably going to have some sort of workshop or a chance for our employees to ask questions, because everyone's going to have a different question or more specific, and hopefully get all those answered before we go to the board, so everyone's on board and what we're doing, what the changes are, what the recommendations are going to be to the board, and then give them a chance to have some input and get their questions answered beforehand. So that'll be the next step before it goes to the board.
Okay.
So each employee will have a chance to get their, because those are specific. So if they need to talk to their ICMA rep about how to consolidate that or pay it off or Nationwide, we'll have those discussions on an individual basis
Okay.
before the transition takes place.
Okay. Okay. And how often can you change your portfolio? Say in a year you want to move from what you got. Are they going to allow you to do that?
So on Nationwide, they do offer the 2 services. So under the basic service, you'll have full flexibility to change your fund lineup, move money. Now, if you want to opt into their managed service, it's an extra, I think it was 0.65 basis points. and then they'll move money for you. So you'll have those two options. Same way you do now with ICMA. If you want to move your line up, you can make those changes
IMCA.
on the
It's hard
website.
to talk to. They're going to be
But this one's
accessible, correct?
correct.
Not just got to be here at 8 o'clock at night in order to get your, what.
Yeah. So that'd be
Every
an
employee will set up their own online if they want to, right?
correct.
You set
So
up your
now with
own online
ICMA,
account.
you're basically your two options are call in or go online and make your own fund changes if you want to do it that way. The benefit with Nationwide is you'll still have the online, you'll still have the phone number, but you'll also have a rep that's coming here once a quarter because they also service City of Sebring, Highlands County.
Okay.
So we're going to have a lot more.
It's a lot easier
Face-to-face.
sometimes to talk to somebody than try to
Correct.
decipher, and then you're talking on the phone and you're getting a bad connection or something.
Yeah.
And then, it's just crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So that should be a big plus for our employees too, to be able to have that face-to-face interaction
Yeah.
with Nationwide. So the last item is the plan fees, which we discussed at the last meeting, but I want to just go on that and go over again. So that's Exhibit D. And we're just going, once again, we're going from ICMA to the middle plan, which is Nationwide Local. So currently, the fees being assessed against the plan assets are about, on average, 1.34%, which totals, the plan pays about $8,900 in fees a year. With Nationwide, it's going to be 0.84%, which would drop the fees paid under this plan to $5,500. So those fees are paid by each participant on their account balance. So on the back side of this is just an example of someone who had a $40,000 account balance in their account, what their annual fee would be. So under ICMA, someone with $40,000 in their account at the 1.34 is paying about $536 in fees a year. Under Nationwide, they will only be paying $332. So for this employee, there would be a $200 savings on their plan just in fees alone under the Nationwide Local plan.
So we're under the middle one.
Correct. We did
Okay.
not. We decided not to go with the state.
Okay.
So we're proposing that. So just to recap, employees will receive reduced fees on their plan. They're going to get more customer service with Nationwide. Now we have an on-site rep. Their contributions now are going to be a higher matching contribution at 6% versus the 5%.
A matching, so 6 for 6 or 5% gets
Six
you
for-
6%.
You put in 5, the district matches 6.
Okay.
Vesting schedule is going to stay the same. Loans, we're going to go from 5 loans to 1 loan up to 50%.
Okay.
And then the district is also receiving the fiduciary Morningstar feature on the plan to help monitor the fund and the investments inside the fund. Pretty straightforward.
Well, yeah, and, I don't see any downside for anybody.
No, there's not really. So I think it's going to be better for the district. It's going to be better for the employees. If the increased contribution gets passed by the board, that'll be another benefit to the employees to hopefully contribute and start. Hopefully we get 100% participation for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be smart enough to put it in. And some people aren't. I mean, I get it, but
When do we want to take this to the board, the supervisors? Do you have a kind of a timeline in your mind?
So right now, tentatively, I have it for the May 24th, which gives us the end of this month. So I'm hoping maybe next week we can send out a questionnaire or send out an email to all the staff. Maybe I'll go and make a date to go around to each department, just to filter questions, send them to the ICMA or Nationwide reps, make sure I get everyone's questions answered, make sure I get all the feedback from employees. Maybe there's something that we overlooked or something that triggers from an employee standpoint, something that we want to look at again before we take it for a final approval. So,
Sounds good to me.
end of the month, at the board meeting, end of the month, if the board approves it, we'll send a 60-day notice to ICMA to terminate the plan. Nationwide will start doing the paperwork and getting the plan in place. After the 60 days, they can start. We'll have an on-site rep come in, set up new accounts for every employee, and then start moving the funds.
the only potential negative I can see is if you had, let's say you had 3 loans. I don't know exactly how the loans are structured, but I assume are they at a fixed rate or a floating rate?
I'm not sure.
See, if they're at a fixed rate and you have to pay them off to put them into one, you could be increasing your rate.
Right.
But I guess you pay yourself back, or that's the way most of them work.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah, you're just paying, yeah.
dollars to dollars. That's probably a question that you're going to get.
Yeah. I think the loans is going to be a big question from employees on fund lineups, maybe making changes will be another question. I want to make sure we get 100% answer for our employees before we do that. And then I know I've got a couple questions on employees on during the process, can I go ahead and take money out which I think goes back to you're going to either have to meet a emergency requirement hardship, you're going to have to either take an early withdrawal and get penalized. So I just want to make sure all those questions get answered for those employees who have them before we make a change. So,
Works.
all right. So May 24th presentation.
Monday,
Yep.
same day as budget.
Yep.
I mean, this should be a 5-minute deal.
Should be.
It should be, yeah. And we'll probably use the
Doesn't
same.
necessarily mean it will be, but that's a These things have to take on a life of their own sometimes that I don't follow why, but okay. I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
We're saving enough to fund the money that we're giving them. You know, we're taking away and giving back. So what the heck?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.